All right, it should have. There we go. Awesome. It is recording now. Awesome. All right, so welcome to the class today. I already had one question come in on here, so thank you for that. I have a current listing that I started with DocuSign. I've been having problems switching over to Lone Wolf. So on a great note, you can continue to utilize DocuSign up until the 15th. All right, so we're going to talk about that in 1 second. So if you want to utilize DocuSign for some of the different transactions and then start a new one over inside Lone Wolf, you're definitely more than welcome to. All right, the documents inside DocuSign will disappear, but if you've moved them over to your opportunity, you should be good to go. All right, so we're going to talk about that in a second as well, too. All right. And unfortunately, my volume is at max capacity on here. You might just need to turn up your volume on there. Make sure you've got everything set to go on your end, and you should be able to see everything right away. All right, but to start today's class, the first thing we're going to focus on is making sure that you have Lone Wolf Transact set up. All right, so in order to see if you have Lone Wolf set up on the back end, we're going to go to agent.kw.com to sign into your command account. So we're going to go to agent.kw.com. All right, and from there, we're going to click on our name at the top right and select settings from the drop-down menu. Now, if you already have your Lone Wolf account set up, you can disregard for a couple minutes. All right, we're just going to make sure everyone's got this ready to go. All right, so if you want to, you can hold off for the time being. That's okay. All right, but we're going to click on our name at the top right and select settings from the drop-down menu. This is going to display all of your settings and all of your connected applications on the next page we're going to go to, right in the back end of your command account. All right, so I'm going to click on this real quick on here. Here we go. So we're under our command settings. And first thing first, if you have DocuSign set up and connected, if you have .loop connected on here, you'll see it on the right-hand side. Now, I do not, because mine just says connect account on here. But if you do have that connected, it'll show connected on the right. Now, you'll notice for DocuSign, this is a newer item that just came out this week, it looks like, where it says the DocuSign integration will be permanently disconnected from command on July 14th, 2026. After this date, documents will not be sent, received in command. We recommend transitioning to Lone Wolf Transact for the free e-signature services. That's just for DocuSign. If your office, your board, your state, whatever it might be, has a subscription to .loop, you can continue to utilize that, and that will remain connected to your command account. All right, so Lone Wolf is going to be the new option that's going to be accessible. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today. Now, if you do want to learn how to transition everything from DocuSign, we are going to be doing another DocuSign transition or prepping for Lone Wolf class. That is going to be next Wednesday at the same time on here. All right, so right at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central, 12 p.m. Mountain, so on and so forth. All right, but we will, once again, at the end of the class, show you where you can access all of those courses as well that we've already done. All right, so what we're going to do first on here is access our Lone Wolf account. All right, so I'm going to click on the Connect option on the right-hand side to set up our Lone Wolf Transact option. All right, and once again, just a reminder, make sure that you're under your name at the top right and select Settings right from that drop-down. All right, so I'm going to click on this Connects account option on the right-hand side. And if you already have a Lone Wolf account set up, if you've utilized Cloud CMA in the past, all right, if you've utilized G's Transaction Desk, any Lone Wolf product, you can sign in with that account. The question I always get is, does it have to be the KW email that you're connecting this with? And the answer is no. You can connect it with whatever email account you want to, as long as you're connecting it from here. All right, so once we click on Connect Account, now we can go in and set this up. Let me try this one more time, see if it'll pop up on here properly for me. All right, if you're not getting that pop-up, just make sure that you have your pop-up blocker turned off, so we can access this. And a great question just came in the chat, will our DocuSign transactions transfer? They will not. All right, so in this case, you want to make sure you download all of them to be safe. And you can also go through and upload them again if you'd like. But once again, if they're downloaded onto your opportunities, you'll be good. But I would highly suggest downloading anything and everything from DocuSign. So let me see if this will pop up. All right, you do not have to use the KW email. You can literally use whatever email you want to. All right, so I want to make sure this pops up properly on here. It was not working for me, so let's see if this is going to work on here. All right, fingers crossed. I'm hopeful I could show this to you. If not, I'll walk you through it. Let's try it one more time. I know this has been acting a little funky on here sporadically, but it looks like we're getting something this time. There we go. So in this case, you can go through and sign in with your Lone Wolf account if you have one. All right. If you don't, then you can click the sign up option on here. All right. So I'm going to click that sign up option on here instead, since I don't have a Lone Wolf account. Now, one thing to note is when we set up this Lone Wolf account, in comparison to setting up DocuSign or .loop, right, there's not a way to disconnect this. You can change the email later on, but make sure you're connecting it with the account you want to use. So if you already have an account that is under the email you want to use on here, make sure you're using that right away. All right. And to ensure that everything's combined with command, just go through the process we're doing right now, and that'll connect it right away. All right, and documents from DocuSign are going away. All right, so the 14th is going to be the last day on there, so make sure you download everything beforehand. Right, but I'm going to go ahead and sign in with this real quick. All right. And once again, I'm going to try and answer as many questions as possible. A lot are coming in right now, so I definitely want to make sure we get through the class on here. But Becky from our team is going to be able to answer as many as possible on here as well. So be on the lookout for that in the chat section as well, too. All right, but I'm going to put inside my email address on here that I want to use to sign up. All right, I'm going to put inside my information on here. So I'm going to sign in with my name. I'm going to put inside my country. Oh, rats. I'm going to need to go back in here and do this again. If you're getting this issue on here, I'm going to need to refresh this one more time. All right, come on. Here we go. Let's see if this will work in this case. All right, once again, if this does not work, I'll just walk you through it. I'm hopeful I can do this on here. Awesome. Might have a good amount of people hopping in on here. So let's try this one more time. Let's sign up. Let's see, can I get the country this time? I can. Perfect. All right, so I'm going to put inside my name, put inside my country, the United States. I'll put in my state, and then we can put inside our password on here. All right. If it is not letting you select the country on here, just please try like I did before, X out of this and try one more time. This way you can then try to get back in right away. Now, if you notice for the password on here, it is going to show that it needs to be at least 10 characters, 3 of the following. It has to have an uppercase, lowercase, a number, and a special character. All right, so I'm doing all 4. So at least 3 of the following on here, and then no more than 2 identical characters in a row. So that's one of the things on here. Awesome. All right. Thank you, Becky. And thank you as well, Rachel. I just saw y'all answer a couple on here, so that's perfect. All right, so I'm going to click this continue option, and this is going to send me over a code that I'm going to get via email that I can use right away to sign in. All right, this is going to allow me to connect this immediately. Now, when this comes through on here, here we go. Here's what that email is going to look like. All right. All right, and a lot of the questions I see coming in on here, we are going to get to that, especially the terminology. We just got to get there first. All right, so on this one, right where it says, welcome to Lone Wolf Technology, here's the code that's going to be accessible on here. It's available for the next 5 minutes. So I'm going to copy this. It's only specific for yourself. So this code that you're seeing on my screen is just for me. Make sure you get the one that's for you on here. All right, I'm going to paste that inside, click continue. And now this is going to link directly from my Lone Wolf account to utilize. All right, so now it's going to take me to foundation.lwolf.com. It's showing this in the back end, but I can X out of this. I don't need to worry about that. And now I'm going to see Lone Wolf has been connected. That's all we needed to use. Now, if your password is not being accepted on there, just double check that it's hitting all the criteria. Remember, it's got to be at least 10 characters, uppercase, lowercase, a number, special character, and you can't have duplicates on there. All right, so I know a lot of people like to use like a lot of the same special characters multiple times in a row. Just watch out for that. All right, so that's how simple it is to get everything added in on here right away. All right, so under the Lone Wolf section, we are now all good to go. So what we're going to do next, now that we have this connected, so if anyone already had this connected previously, please feel free to jump back into the training. Now we're going to set up our opportunity to connect this to Lone Wolf. All right. So I'm going to go back to my homepage on here, or you can go directly to the opportunity section. I just want to start from a blank canvas for y'all. So we're going to agent.kw.com. All right. So under agent.kw.com, we can click on the opportunities section. All right. And once we do that, as you can see, once again, KW is giving you as many notifications as possible that DocuSign is going away. All right. So on the 14th, that bad boy is going away on here. So let's make sure we've got everything saved. All right. But now I'm going to click to create an opportunity. Now you can create whatever opportunity you want to. I may highly suggest for this class today, just doing a test one. All right. So maybe utilize yourself so you can play around with this before you actually use it for any, potential buyer, seller, renter, whoever it might be that you're working with. All right. So I'm going to create a test opportunity on here. Oh, you know what? I don't want to do it under this one. My apologies. I want to move over to my other handy dandy one. All right. So let's do this one more time. Go to the opportunity section. Sorry about that. All right. And now I'm going to create one on here. And I'm just going to create a listing one just to help out. All right. So nothing too crazy in this case. And in order to create an opportunity, we're going to do it the exact same way that we did it for .loop or DocuSign previously. All right, so this is not going to be any different, which is the good part. The only difference that's going to happen is when we connect an account, we're going to connect this with our Lone Wolf Transact backend instead of connecting it with DocuSign. Now, once again, I know I sound like a broken record. I'm probably going to say this a million more times before the end of this class, but DocuSign is going away on the 14th. .loop is staying around. So if you are utilizing .loop right now, if your office is paying for it, if your board's paying for it, if your state's paying for it, if you're paying for it, that will be connected still in the back end of Command. Only DocuSign is changing on here. All right. Now under here, I'm going to put inside myself as the seller. Get this to pull up real quick. All right. And then any other information I want to add on here. So I'm going to add inside some info for my address just so I can show you how this will pull over directly. I'll do this one. All right. And I can put inside the estimated price. Let's say it's 500,000. Commission rate is 3%. All right. And the property type is residential. I'm just putting in some extra stuff so I can show you how this is going to pull. All right. And I'm going to say it's going to close on July 31st. Why not? So I'm going to create this real quick. Now, for the question in there of can we log in via the web or do we have to go through Command, I would highly suggest starting the opportunity to link it up. So then that way all the documents can sync back over to Command directly. But you can always go through Lone Wolf too. So we're going to show you how to access that. And which is best, .loop or this new one? I'm not touching that with the poll that they utilize inside the Grinch on there. You can use whichever one you want to. At the end of the day, it's your personal preference if you are utilizing .loop right now, but this is going to be the one that'll be accessible for free for use. All right. I plead the fifth on any type of item on there of which one's the best. All right. But I will say this is the one that's going to be available for you to use. So in my personal opinion, I would use the one that's free, the one that's included. All right. Oh, sorry. Did not put in the classification. I'm going to say resale. And now let's create that bad boy. All right. So when we do that on here, this is going to take us to the back end of our opportunity. And what we'll want to work on in order to sync this over with Transact is we want to click on the documents section on here. All right. And once we click on documents at the top, we can now sync with e-sign provider. So if you have multiple e-sign providers set up, like on here, we have Lone Wolf Transact and .loop, I can choose between those. All right. If you have DocuSign on here, just a reminder, you only have access to that until the 14th. All right. So I'm going to choose Lone Wolf Transact since this is obviously our Lone Wolf Transact class today. Now, once again, if you have an opportunity that's already set up under DocuSign, you can still use that opportunity even after the 14th. You just won't be able to access DocuSign. All right. So you'll still be able to go through and say like, hey, let's go into Lone Wolf Transact and start a transaction from there, and then download the documents to upload into this opportunity. So if you don't want to have to recreate the opportunity, you don't have to. If you want to recreate the opportunity and link it to Lone Wolf Transact, then you can download the documents from the old opportunity that was synced with DocuSign and upload them into the new one. All right. And if yours just says sync transact, that means you only have one option, and that's transact. So you're good to go. All right. You only have sync with e-sign provider if you have multiple options. But I'm going to click Lone Wolf Transact on here. Oh, sorry. I do this every time. Let me select a checklist type on here. I'll do residential. Every freaking time I do that. I think there's only been one class I've done where I haven't done that. So I selected the checklist. Now I'm going to click on Lone Wolf Transact, and now it's going to sync on here for us. Yeah. Oh, trust me, I do this every time. So one of these days I will not do that. But as you can see, I'm now linked with Transact. I can click on Go to Transact, and that's going to allow me to sign in right away. It'll take it over immediately. All right. And once that was done, now this is pulling up for my transaction on here. Now, there was a question that came in earlier in the chat that said, what is the terminology and what are the differences between DocuSign and Transact? The biggest thing is that if you had a room inside DocuSign, it is now a transaction. All right. If you had an envelope inside DocuSign, it is now a signing on here. All right. A lot of the other items are going to remain very similar, but those are the two big ones I would highly suggest noting. So now that we're in the back end of our transaction, all right, now we're in the back end of our transaction, this is where we can start to work with everything possible. And just a reminder, everything you're seeing on here, this is just for one specific office. So this is completely different. The checklist that I chose on here, this is based on how the office has it set up. Right? But in this case, yours is probably going to be a little bit different. So this is just an example one I'm using on here. It's going to be completely different. The Transact backend will be similar, but there's certain things that each office is going to have connected on. Right? So now that we're in the back end of this particular transaction, all right, on the left-hand side, this is where we're going to have all of our details on this particular transaction we can utilize. So if you notice, I can add inside an image on here, very similar to what you could do over inside the rooms or inside the loop. I can see here's the name of the transaction. You know, this is obviously what we have on here for the actual sorry, not the name of the transaction, but for the property on here. I can mark this as active if I want to. So if I click on mark as active, I can see my details have saved successfully. If I did that on accident, even though there's not a go back button on here on the top right, there are 3 dots I can click on to undo that status update. So if you ever select something, you're like, oh, rats, I didn't mean to do that. You can always adjust this at any time on here. And so I'm going to say yes in this case. All right. I can even have this terminated on here if I need to go through and terminate this right away. And then, of course, I can also view the parties on here under the details. Now, this is going to automatically display more than likely the broker on here that'll be linked up for the office. So I'm using the Houston Metropolitan office as an example. So if you're with Office 80 on here, this is going to look very similar for you. For any other location, this might be a little different. All right. And then, of course, I can see ourselves as the listing agent. And on top of that, I can also see who the seller is since I'm doing that on here. All right. And I can always go through and add parties in this case as well. So if I want to add inside a new party on here, I can search for the contact, or I can create a new one to add them in right away. So maybe later on, I'm like, hey, I want to add inside G's, the buying agent, the buyer, maybe I want to add inside transaction coordinator, whatever it might be. I can add this in immediately. All right. Now, below the party section, we also have property. This is where I can actually import property data if I want to. So this will pull over. If there are any MLS sources on here, I can add this inside. So we'll talk about this in a second. Or I can just add inside that specific information. And if you notice on here, this is automatically pulling inside the info that I put over inside command. I've got the address on here. I've got the property type. So I can add this in, and this will automatically display. All right. And then, of course, coming back over on here, I can also view the offer information or any lost details if this has been terminated. So if I do want to add inside an offer on here, I can help with that right away. All right. So I see a couple people in the chat that are asking about how to get on here. So first and foremost, once again, make sure inside the opportunity backend, you've created an opportunity. Under documents, you've gone through and selected that you're syncing with Transact. This will take you over directly. You do need to have Transact set up on here. So if you're coming in now, what we did in the very beginning of the class is we clicked on our name at the top, selected settings, and then set up our Transact account. Right. And then the benefit of going through opportunities instead of going through Transact directly is that this will then allow for these to feed back over instead of having to download everything and upload it. All right. So that's going to make your life so much easier to start from here. All right. And this class is being recorded and it will be uploaded later on. So that's going to be accessible under scottleroymarketing.com under agent resources and then under the recorded training classes section. All right, we're going to be having 4 more of these classes as well before that deadline on the 14th and 3 more classes on saving everything on DocuSign. So plenty of opportunities for more live trainings too. All right, so now we've gone through the details on here. Let's talk about the paperwork side. All right, so under the paperwork side on here, this is where we can actually view our different folders of what's currently accessible. Now, once again, what you are seeing on here is for this particular office. So if your paperwork looks different, that's okay. It's supposed to, right? This is how the office has it set up on here. But if you notice, we can go through and we can view, hey, here's the name of the listed paperwork. I can rename this folder. I can move it down. I can delete it. I can add paperwork on here from these 3 dots. I can see for this office, they have one for under contract. I can see they have one for closed in this case. All right. I can also click on this upload by email, and this email is going to be specific in this case. All right. So this is going to be specific on here for that one transaction. So if you have someone that is saying like, hey, I want to fill this out in pen and paper, or I'm going to send you over the PDF as an attachment, you can then forward that directly to this email, and that's going to add it in here right away. So as you can see, use this email address to upload documents directly to this transaction. This is a personalized address to this transaction. All right, now outside of that, we can also go through and add inside a new folder. So if we want to create a brand new folder on here, maybe I want to put inside, test listing folder, I can always add that in where I can add inside additional paperwork. And then I can also click the add paperwork button at the top right. Now, if you click on add paperwork, someone just asked on here, can you email by downloaded doc on your computer? Yep. So you can just use that email to forward it over. Just make sure it's an attachment. And then someone did ask, is there a way to download or bring over the documents that you've added in previously from other accounts? All right. So if I click on add paperwork on here, I can then go through and either utilize my form libraries or I can upload directly. All right, so from the form libraries on here, I can view whatever documents I currently have. I can click on the drop down to view all of our documents that the office may have uploaded. So the reason you're seeing Keller Williams MC number 80 is because I'm using this as an example. All right, yours is going to be different, just a reminder. That's why there's Houston Association Realtors, Texas Realtors. Like if you're like, hey, I'm not in Texas, what are you seeing on here? That's why. All right, this is just an example in this case. All right, and these files were automatically uploaded because this is from that particular office. All right, each office is going to be a little bit different as to what files they might be uploaded. All right, but then on top of that, at the very bottom, I can also click this option to either update my NRDS ID or add the NRDS ID. So that way we can go through and add this in so we can link up all of our board forms. All right, or if you're a Canadian a realtor that's on here, you can also link your CREA web forms. All right, so it'll all be accessible on here to make sure those forms are added on here. All right, so that'll help out tremendously to add inside all those additional documents outside of just the office ones that may have been up. All right, and then once again, if you do want to go through and upload your documents that you had over inside DocuSign, that you have inside .loop, you can then go through on here and click that upload button to add this in right away. Now, once again, not only can you access this directly over through command through the opportunity section, you can also go to transact-workflow.lwolf.com. You can go to foundation.lwolf.com. Right, this will help to access that right away. All right, a great question just came in here. Kathy, thank you for that. Is Lone Wolf compatible to iPads? It is mobile optimized. So there's not a mobile app right now, but you can come on here and access this from your phone, from your iPad. It will be mobile optimized for you. Awesome. All right. So now we've talked just a little bit about the paperwork. We're going to get back into this. I promise. We're going to get back into the paperwork side. I just want to talk about this first. All right. Oh, and for Georgia specific, yeah, they are taking a little bit of time for GAR forms to come in. If you're not seeing them quite yet, that is something they're working on right now. I believe they said it's going to be happening near the end of June. Maybe it got pushed back a little bit, but there have been some issues with the GAR side. Uh, Now, once we get into the signing section on here, this is where you can actually send off documents for signings. So similar to how you would send off envelopes, all right, if inside DocuSign or inside Dotloop, how you would send off loops for signings, this is where you're going to be able to do this. So we can create a signing on here if you want to just individually create one. This will allow you to send this out directly. So we're going to do that a little bit later on. All right, so I'm not going to talk about that quite yet because we're going to do that through the paperwork section instead, but this is where you can just do a signing. All right, and then you also have your to-do section. So if you want to add inside a to-do list of things you need to do, well, this is where you can do it. All right, I feel like I said the word do multiple times in this case. All right, so that's all accessible on here to help out. All right, so I'm going to click on this add list button, and maybe I'm going to add inside a list in this case. So I'm going to put this in as seller, and let's say seller to do task. Right, something as simple as that. And I'll click create. Now this way I can actually go through and click this section to add inside a to-do of things that I might need to complete. Or once again, I can click these three dots, rename this, delete this. But what I love about this section on here is not only can you add inside an item to do, all right, but I can come in here and I might say, host open house. All right, you can see the examples I continually use. But then I can actually specify when is this due? All right, so maybe this is due, maybe there's no due date, maybe it's due on a specific date, maybe it's due relative to the transaction. So I'm going to do relative to the transaction and say that this is going to be due on, and let's say it's on, the list date. So I can do it on that, or I can say, hey, this is on, the offer date or on the closing date, whatever it might be. But instead of doing on, I can even say, hey, this is going to be after. So after we have a listing, and it's listed as a listing, I'm going to say, hey, this needs to be, up to 7 days after that, so we can have it at least by that weekend. All right. And I can add inside whatever, items I want to on here and whatever notes I prefer. I can add inside reminders on here too. But once I click that save option, this is now accessible. All right, so that's all available for me to take a look at on my to-do section. All right, and as I can see, I can go through, I can edit it, whatever I prefer on here. Now, I can then click on my timeline as well too. All right, under the timeline section. All right, I see a lot of questions that are coming in. I promise we're going to be answering as many as possible. They're just going to happen during, happen on here organically during the class. I see a lot of questions that I know I'm going to be answering. All right. So under the timeline section, I can then see on here, great. Well, here's everything that's due for June 26th. Well, I don't have anything due today. But I can come on here. I can even view under my calendar. Great. Are there any upcoming items that need to be due? So if I mark this as active, details are saved on here, then inevitably now it's going to be active. That's going to start popping up on here shortly where I can actually view that right away. All right, so that's all going to be accessible for you to utilize. Or once again, if I add insight to do that was date specific, I can have that add on here. Add in on here. Now I can also add inside an event in this case. So if I want to add an event on here, I can say, hey, maybe this is going to be the loan approval deadline. All right, I'll add this in. I'm going to say, hey, this is going to be by the 3rd. All right. So I'm going to come in here and click that save option. And now I can immediately see this is added inside. And once again, if I go back over here, now I've got my timeline set up. All right, so the to-dos are going to be different than timeline. I apologize. I was mixing them together on there. But this will actually allow me to see when that's going to be accessible. All right. And then I can also view my history. This is going to give you, basically think of it like your history for your web browser. This is going to show you on here where you can access everything possible. All right, this is showing everything that's been done on here. So if you notice, I had my transaction status updated. I had my timeline event updated. I have my to-do created on here. All right, so that's all accessible in this case. All right, and it's all going to show. All right, now there's not a way on the timeline that I've seen where you can actually just bulk import from a spreadsheet, but you can add these in individually. All right, and once again, at the top right up here, as you can see, we've got the little comment section where we can add inside transaction comments. So if we want to add something in that maybe someone else is going to be viewing later on, someone on our team, transaction coordinator, we can include that. I can click on the little the little question mark icon where I can actually go through and view some of the different support sections on here. This will help out tremendously. And then, of course, at the very top right, we've got those 3 dots where I can go through and share this. I can undo that status. I can export. I can delete. And then we're going to talk about apply template in 1 second. All right, so I'm going to go back to my transaction on here. But before I go back to the transaction, I do just want to show you something. This is what the transaction backend for this particular transaction of 123 Main Street is going to look like. All right. So under this section, we've got all of our information at the top up here. We've got our details on the left-hand side. This is going to look almost identical to what you have on the opportunity section just to make your life that much easier. So all the details are on the left-hand side. All the items are at the top up here. All right, so it's going to be very simple in this case to kind of go along with all this. All right, and if you do have the documents inside Command or the opportunity section, you're good to go on there. But once again, we're doing that DocuSign class next Wednesday, or I'm going to show you where the recorded ones are later on. I would highly suggest downloading as many documents as possible just to be safe and have backup copies. All right, but I'm going to click on the transaction section at the top left up here. All right, and once I click on the transaction section, this is going to show our transactions homepage. So similar to how you'd see like the rooms homepage that are showing all the rooms, or the loops homepage showing all the loops, this will be accessible on here to take a look at. All right, so that's all available just to go through and utilize this right away. Now I can then go through once again, as you start to, secure more transactions on here, I can go through and I can say, hey, I don't want to just view all transactions. I want to view leases, listings, purchases, in progress, closed. I can filter this out. I can export the transaction list to a CSV file, right? And you don't have to pay for Authentisign. We're going to get there, I promise. All right, but now I can view all my transactions and I can start a new transaction. But once again, I would highly suggest starting that transaction from the opportunity section. So much like how you do it in DocuSign, it'll allow you under here, and we're going to talk about this near the end, to go through and pull those documents back. All right, if not, it's not going to be able to sync on that. All right, now outside of the transactions, we also have all of our signings. This is going to show every signing that we've created across all transactions. All right, so as we can see in this case, we've got all of our signings on here. I can go through and create one, and that's what we were seeing over inside the transaction of 123 Main Street. So we can go through and create this if we want to. Once again, I'm going to hold off on that. I'm going to get to that right after this, I promise. But then we also have our templates. This is what I would highly suggest taking the most amount of time to set up over the next 3 weeks before everything is officially Lomo Transact oriented. So under the template section on here, I can click on add template, and this is going to make your life so much easier having these set up. When I click on add template, I can put inside whatever template name I want to. All right, so under the template name on here, I'm just going to put this in as residential listing, like the example. Got the ownership as personal, that's great. And then I can put inside whatever description I want to if I prefer. So I'm going to put inside residential templates to use. All right, and I'll click create on here. Now, if you notice, all right, this is where we can actually go through and add in files, parties, to-dos to our templates. This is going to make it where when we go back to that transaction that we have set up for 123 Main Street, we can auto-apply, or not auto-apply, but we can apply that template, and it's going to pull in all these for us. So when I click create on here, I can now add inside what paperwork I want to display every time on these particular templates. So this is the one I'm doing for residential listings. Maybe you want to then make one for residential buying. Maybe you want to make one for commercial listing, commercial buying, leases, renters, whatever it might be. All right, I can then add inside parties I want to include each time and items I want to use on the to-do side. So I'm going to go through and under the paperwork section, I'm going to say, let's add inside a new folder on here. I'm going to put this in as listing docs for residential. All right, I'm going to click create on this case. All right, I see Becky answering a lot of questions on here, so I'm going to keep plugging along in this on here. I want to make sure we get everything completed because we only got about 20 minutes left and there's a lot still left to cover. All right, but as you can see on here, I've got, oh, and I misspelled listing. Let's rename that real quick. Come on, do better, Scott. All right, so listing docs for residential, perfect. I can then go through on here once again and add paperwork on here, or I can always add paperwork directly and then just drag this over. All right. So from here, I can add inside whatever documents I want to. So maybe I want to do the residential listing agreement. Maybe I want to add inside, let's just do this on here. Let's search for listing. I'm just going to search for anything and everything just to add some in. Business listing agreement, commercial, lease. Obviously I wouldn't want to put all these on here. I'm just doing something to show you what it's going to look like. So let's just add a couple on. So once I select that, I can now go through, I can see it's checked on here. I can uncheck that if I need to or anything of that sort. This is all ready to go for me to utilize. All right. And once again, once we start to add inside those documents, we can then upload them as well, like PDFs, or at the bottom down here, we've got our update NRDS or, add inside the NRDS. All right. And then we also happen to have our link CREA web forms. All right, so I'm going to go and leave this as is. Everything's good to go. I can see them all added on here. And if I need to remove any, right-hand side, I can click delete. And as you can see, these are not filed yet. So I can just go over here on the left-hand side with those little three, I guess actually it's 4 dots on either side, and drag them down if I want to. All right, so I'm just going to move these around. So once again, I could have done this directly under the listing docs for residential from these 3 dots if I add paperwork. But I just wanted to show you how you can access that and drag them around as well too, in case you do that accidentally from the top right. All right, so that's how simple it is to add inside paperwork on here that we might want to utilize. All right. Then I can also go over to parties. So if there's specific parties I want to add in each time, maybe you have a transaction coordinator, maybe you have an admin, maybe you have a specific lender or a vendor that you want to add inside. All right, so I can say, let's add the party on here. And since I don't have any contacts right now, I'm going to create one. I'm going to say that this person is going to be, let's say this is going to be I don't want to say landlord. Let's go with seller's lending company. All right, so I'm going to put this in. I'll use my middle name. There we go. All right, I'll put this inside on here. Let's do this one more time. Awesome. Using the same email address. You know what? Let's use the other one. I want to be safe. All right, and then I can also save this to the comments so I can utilize this as well right away. All right, so I'm going to save this to the contacts. Selecting this will save a copy of this transaction party to your global contact, so I can use that again. And now I can click save, and I've got a new party on here ready to go. So I've got my seller lending company added inside. So if you have multiple people on here, all right, then I can go through and add this in to upload this every time. And then, of course, on the to-do side, much like we did earlier on the twos, I can click on add list. I'll put this inside as new to-do list for template usage. I just want to show you what this looks like. Please do not call your template that. All right, and then from here, I can add inside a to-do. All right, so I'm going to click and add to do, and maybe I'm going to put inside here, host another open house. And in this case, since it's going to be host another open house, All right, I can put inside a specific to-do date or a specific due date. Once again, I can do it relative to a transaction. I can do it on a specific date, no due date. So I'm going to do this one on a specific date. And we're going to say this one's going to be on the 11th. All right. So now that I have this set up for my residential listing one, I'm going to go back. All right, we are having, I saw someone said on here that we're going too fast and everything of that sort. Having to go a little bit faster to get through everything. It's only an hour class today, but this is being recorded on here. All right. A lot of questions coming in. I'm trying to answer as many as possible. All right, but then we also happen to have where we can go back to our transaction section. All right. So once we click on transactions on here, I'm going to go back to my transaction that I have set up. Once again, this is the same name as what you call a room over inside DocuSign, a loop over inside .loop. All right. I saw there was a hand raised on here. We're not doing any questions in this class. All right, just in the chat section on there. But once I'm back over inside my transaction, at the top right, I can click these little three dots and click on Apply Template. All right, and once I click on Apply Template, I can now add inside my transaction template I want to. So I can see all the office templates we have on here. And I've got my residential listing one that I created as well too. So when I add this in, I can then choose what paperwork I want to include. I can choose what parties I want to include. I can choose what to-dos I want to include. And when I do that, if you notice, it's not going to change anything that's already set up on here, but now it's added inside some additional stuff. So now I've got my listing docs for residential. All right, I've got as well over inside our parties. I now have 4 on here instead of 3. And then on top of that, if I go back to my to-dos, I now have another to-do on here under new to-do list for template usage. That way you can see this. And unfortunately, we can't go back, guys. I promise, but trying to get through as much as possible. This is being recorded, though. So if you do want to come back and rewatch it, we also have all of our prior Lone Wolf Transact ones on there, too, to help with this right away. But we got to keep moving forward because we've only got about 15 minutes left in the class. All right. Now on here, we can also then go back over to our paperwork section. And this is where we can go through and actually start to utilize our paperwork. And at the very end of this class, just a heads up, at the very end of the class, I am going to walk through everything we covered today just to re-show you where it is. And this class is being recorded, so you can always come back, rewatch it, start, stop, go at half speed, go at double speed if it's going too slow, whatever you prefer on here to help out too. Thank you, Daniela. You got to laugh. You got to laugh to keep going. All right, so I'm going to choose just an example template on here. I'm going to use one of these that's already set up. So I'm going to use this residential listing agreement exclusive. Once again, yours are going to look completely different in this case, but I'm going to go ahead and just utilize this one on here. All right, and you can use whatever template you want to. We're literally just playing around with this one today. So I'm going to use this on here. All right, it does usually pop up. How satisfied are you with your transaction experience? So I'm just going to say, love it, great. That's, I don't need to give any more feedback. All right. And if you are seeing an access denied one, I've seen that a couple times on here. Please, for the time being, just try another one instead, just to be able to hop over here. I've had that happen a couple times. All right. And Paul, on a great note, we actually have a plethora of videos on here for creating templates as well, too. That's all under our Lone Wolf Transact recorded courses. And we have a bunch of tips already on that, too. So on here, I can now go through and I can add additional paperwork if I want to. I can grab other transactions that we already have in our back end too. All right. And then I can view those documents on here. So once again, I'm using this as an example. It's automatically pulling in some of the information that I have on here where it says, like, hey, here's the seller in this case. So I can check this off if I want to. This will be pre-populated with information. I can go through and start to check these items as well. Once again, this is all pulling. If you're seeing something different, this is just pulling from the example one that I have on here. So this is coming over for everything that we might want to utilize. All right. And I can grab all these items and see everything if I want to go through and make any adjustments or any changes. Right? All these documents that I was looking at, those are ones that were pre-populated by that specific office. I then added in some example ones in the template that I'm using on here. But once again, you don't have to worry about anything if the office is taking care of it on there. I would double check with the office just to be safe, right? And it should pre-populate based on the information that you have. There's some on here that I would need to go through and update. Like obviously in this case, I don't have everything on here for the exclusive right sale. Like obviously it's not going to populate, hey, what is the compensation to the seller's broker? Well, in this case, we had 3 on there. It's not displaying, but I'm going to put this in. Are there any items included? Any items excluded? Are there any leased items? Obviously this is different for this particular transaction. So I'm just going to show you how you can go through and update it if you want to. But then on the right-hand side, I can also see we've got parties on here. So I can see I've got seller 1, I've got listing agent 1, I've got the broker 1, I've got the lending company. I can view my listing information on the right-hand side. So if I want to add inside some other info, that'll start to auto-populate as well too. I can add this in. I can add inside offer information. I can look at different clause options if I need to create a new clause on here. I can view different tools as well too. If I need to add inside a text box, if I need to highlight this, put a line or strike through a freehand, right? But I'm going to leave this as is. Some of it auto-populated. I just want to show you where you can go in and start to make adjustments. And if it's not populating with the information on here, you can always click the tools to add inside that text box or any check boxes. All right, it should auto-populate on here though. All right, so I'm going to say if this is good to go. Now, obviously I did very minimal stuff on here. This is not good to go, but I'm just using this as an example so I can show you what it's going to look like when the seller in this case receives this to sign and what yours is going to look like as well too. So at the top up here, I can print this if I want to. I can download this as a PDF if I'd like to as well. I can save this. I always love just clicking the save button to be safe. And then I can also click prepare signing at the top right. And that's what I'm going to do next. Now, this is where we can actually access Authentisign in this case. All right. Oh, this should actually be, oh, hold on. That's a fun one. Should be free on here to utilize. This is supposed to be free, but let me see. I might be using a different document that is not. So let's go back on here and use a different one. Let's use the information about broker services. Let's see if it'll pop up. Authentisign should be included on here for you to utilize. So let's do prepare signing. Awesome. There we go. I was using a different document on there, so that's why I came up with that. I thought that might have an issue in this case. All right. All right, but then once I try to connect this on here, it's already connected, so I did prepare signing. Now I can click the return folder. So I can choose which folder whenever this is signed, then it needs to go back to. And I'm going to say, maybe this is going back over to the listing docs for residential. All right, and once I click that create option, all right, now I can send this off right away. All right, and I can see, hey, once I do that prepare signing, okay, here we go. All right. I can now view what this is going to look like. I can see where people might need to sign or anything of that sort. I can add this inside as well too. And if I want to go back, maybe I want to say don't save. Let's go back to where we were on here. I can continue back into the signing if I want to, just to view this right away. All right, and I can add participants as well too. All right, and if the Authentisign is still saying a try for free, just double check that you've got that all set up for your actual documents on there. It should be connected. All right, I was using a different form on here. It looked like it popped up for CAR, and this person is now part of CAR. So I had to go back on here and choose the form that was actually connected that I could use. All right, and once this is on here, I can now click on add participants, or I can map signers. So I can click on add participants if I want to add myself, add someone new, add from transactions, add from contacts. So I'm going to do add from transactions so I can view all the ones that are on here. So I can say I want to use the seller, I want to use the listing agent, and I can choose they're either a remote signer or a viewer or a CC. I'm going to click select in this case. And now I can see, hey, the seller is going to sign here for Scout Leroy. I don't have a second seller. So I'm going to include this. And now it's got where they're going to put their name on here right away. And then here's the date that'll pop up. All right, so now once again, you can see at the top right, I can either print this, I can download it, I can save it, or if I click next, oh, sorry about that. All right, I need to put this in on here. Oh, this one's already actually done. All right, I'll add this inside as well too. I don't need to sign this, but just to get that going, because I want to make sure we pull this over. Sure, I'll say sign here. All right, don't do that in this case, because I put myself inside here. I guess I could remove this as well too. Let's remove from signing in this case. There we go. Just trying to get through it as quick as possible. But now I can actually say I'm almost done. So to further customize the signing invitation, I can specify on here that this is going to expire on a specific date. So right now it's expiring a month from now. I can send a reminder to this person every maybe 2 days at 9 a.m. for them to sign this. And I can even customize the email that's going to come over to them. All right. So on here, I can see, hey, this is the email that's coming over. This is the subject that I want to put inside on here. I can put inside a specific, message for them, and then I can save this message to add each time. All right, so completely up to you in this case. All right, I'm not going to do that though, because I want you to see what it's going to look like when it comes in on its own. But when I click that send button, all right, now this is going to send off. And as you can see, there's 0 of 1 that have actually signed on here. All right, and here's what that email is going to look like. So when you send this off to your buyer, your seller, whoever it might be, this is what it's going to look like. It's going to say your signature is requested, information about brokerage services, seller landlord, signing invitation. Hello, Scott Leroy. This agent is inviting you to participate as a signing party and authentic signee signature. Once I click on start signing, so I'm acting as the seller in this case, it's going to take me over to Authentisign to accept. And now if I go through, I can click on this, complete the signing, and I am good to go. It'll normally ask them, do you want to sign freehand with your mouse? Or if you have obviously a stylus, you can do that. Or if you're on an iPad or anything, you can use your finger. All right. Or it'll ask you, what type of G's in this case, if it is an actual signature, what type of font do you want to utilize? All right. I can then go through and download this if I want to. I can print this, and then the seller will receive a copy of this saying signing complete. All right, so that way I can see this right away. All right, and then I can also see over on my side as the agent, here's the email that came through saying, hey, an action has taken place on your signing. All right, and then on top of that, once it is done, then you'll receive an email that'll also say, hey, signing was complete on here. Here's where you can download the documents and the certificate. All right. That's all going to be accessible on here just to get that going. Now that this is completed, I can then refresh this. It's going to say 1 of 1 have signed. And if I need to, I can always go through right back on here and I can resend this off. I can view the final on here. If it need to be resent, I can resend it off. I can go through and duplicate it. I can delete this. I can view the signing details. That'll all be accessible on here. And if I go back to paperwork, that'll be good to go. All right, so now I can see here's my signed paperwork ready to go on here. All right, and much like with .loop or DocuSign, if we connected this from the opportunity section, if I come back over into my opportunities, all right, I'm going to pretend that this first one on here I'm seeing is the residential listing checklist. I'm going to pretend that's the one that I need. All right, I always suggest clicking these 3 dots and click include Transact forms, and then I can view all those different forms I need to upload. So here's that information about brokerage services that I can add in right away. Now, once again, I can always just go through and instead of doing Lone Wolf Transact, I can use my computer manual to access this immediately on here. All right, so I can always upload it that way as well too, but I'm going to keep this as Lone Wolf Transact to make it easier to sync this over. All right, so going back to finish out the class, going back on here, so we only got a couple minutes left. All right, we started the class by going into Command, clicking on our name at the top right, and selecting Settings from the drop-down menu. This allowed us to see if we needed to connect our Lone Wolf account. As you can see, it's now connected, and this highlights what I was talking about at the very beginning of the class, that you cannot disconnect it like you can for .loop or DocuSign. All right, so we made sure that was connected. We then went into our opportunities on here and created a brand new opportunity. All right, from the opportunity in this case, we added this in. And from there, we went under our documents section to make sure this was connected to Transact. All right, and then we can access directly from here, Transact. Now, this is where we then talked about, let's wait for this to pop up on here, all the details that are going to show on the left-hand side over here in 1 second. All right, so this is where we talked about all those details. We talked about the paperwork, and we did cover how to upload paperwork. So if you downloaded it from DocuSign, you want to put it in Transact, you can click on the Add Paperwork button. There's the Upload button on here. So we did talk about that. All right, we then talked about signings on here, how you can view it for that particular transaction, how you can add inside to-do task, how you can add inside events for your timeline, how you can view the history on here. We talked about how to undo statuses and apply templates. Under the transaction section, we also talked about how to go through and add a new transaction if you want to, but once again, I would highly suggest going through the opportunity section. We talked about where to view all the signings in one location and all the templates on here as well too that you can add in. This is the one big thing I highlighted. I would 100% specify going through and adding this in, all right, because it's going to make your life so much easier to add in those templates right away. And then we finally went inside the transaction, looked at paperwork on here, added the paperwork over to the signing section, sent it off, showed you what it's going to look like when this actually comes through, how to sign it, and then how to pull that back over into Command. All right, so a lot that was covered in this 1 hour on here. Now you can kind of see why we were going through it a little bit quicker at the end. We had to make sure we got through everything in this case. Now, once again, if you are utilizing DocuSign, if you have those documents added inside your opportunity section, you should be good to go. Those are going to stay on there. It's only on July 14th. DocuSign will be going away, so you won't be able to access the rooms anymore. We are going to be doing 3 more DocuSign transition classes that are called Preparing for Lone Wolf. That'll show you how to download all your documents from DocuSign. All right. And once again, you do not have to start a new opportunity. If you have that linked with DocuSign, you can still go through and any of the new documents you can upload via My Computer. But any new opportunities are more than likely going to get linked with Lone Wolf Transact. All right. Now, to finish this off, if you go to scottleroymarketing.com, once you sign in with your Market Center number, so I'm logged in right now, but once you sign in on here, under Agent Resources, we have our recorded training classes, and this is where you can access Lone Wolf Transact for all of our Lone Wolf Transact 101 classes or all of our DocuSign Preparing for Lone Wolf classes, along with all of the tips we've created. I saw some people saying, hey, you should make some videos on how to actually add in the templates. Well, we have those. All right, so we've got these all accessible on here. And all of our past classes are on here too. They're all chronologically organized. So if you want to see the class from last week, the Lone Wolf Prepped class from the 16th, the one from the 23rd will get added in here shortly. All right, that'll all be accessible on here. All right, but you can come back and access this at any time. And Monique, I believe it's via email. I haven't seen anything on the text side on there. That should come up on the notification. But once again, it's going to be under Agent Resources and then under Recorded Training Classes and Lone Wolf Transact. All right. I am out of breath. I'm going to go chug some water real quick. So thank you so much for coming to the class today here. This is going to get uploaded once again on scoutleroymarketing.com under Recorded Training Classes and Lone Wolf Transact. We are going to be doing even more courses. So once again, under our training section and training calendar, all right, on here, you can view all of our upcoming training classes. We have even more than just Lone Wolf. All right, we've got a bunch of classes coming up on here. These are all in Eastern time. All right, but if you want to see the upcoming classes that are happening, we are literally going to be having 3 more prepping classes on Lone Wolf for DocuSign and 4 more Lone Wolf Transact classes, including one that'll be on the 14th on here. All right, so thank you so much for coming to class today. Please feel free to come back to any of the classes, reach out to us if you have any questions. And double check with your office, all right? This was a general Lone Wolf Transact 101 class, but every office is going to be different, all right? There you go. All right, so I hope you'll have a fantastic Friday. Please enjoy your weekend, and looking forward to seeing y'all at the next training class.